Welcome to another Wine and Rum video. This time the rum is back.
I'm back, yay!
And today we're going to talk about a topic that there have been a lot of questions around it, but never the question we're going to answer today. So basically we get a lot of questions like, how do you move to Ireland? What is this like? What do you need to do? But no one actually ever has asked us how much does it cost? And I think that's something everyone is thinking about, but probably too polite to ask. So we thought, we'll tell you anyway. We'll tell you about our experience.
Yeah, we'll be the impolite ones and tell you exactly how much we spent.
Hi, I'm Julia, the wine.
Hi, I'm Samora, the rum.
We met in London, fell in love, and moved to Ireland.
We share tips on being an expat, travel, cultural experiences, and living life efficiently. So we're obviously not relocation experts. This is all based on our own experience of moving to Ireland. We have a cool Google sheet that you can take a look at. This will undoubtedly be able to help you be able to plot your own expenses next time, well, you decide, hey, I want to pop over to Ireland and see what it's like to live there. So, depending on your nationality, you may actually have higher costs. Of course, this is thanks to the lovely visa fees as well. So, when you get to immigration, they may also check for if you have insurance or enough funds to stay in the country. You know, your usual thing when entering a country which you need a visa for. We luckily didn't have this to deal with on this occasion, so we pretty much hopped on a plane, a budget airline. Insert your Ryanair jokes right here. And yeah, we pretty much came with a suitcase, a big bag, and landed ourselves here in Ireland.
So when it comes to transport, the first thing you want to do is when you arrive at Dublin airport, go to the little Spar convenience store and get a Leap card. So a Leap card is basically like an Oyster card in London. It's a little card like that. You top it up with money and then you can use it. And then you can use it on the buses, the tram, the trains, anywhere pretty much on public transport around Dublin. And it'll save you a lot of coin counting, especially if euro is a new currency for you. And it also makes it cheaper. So the first time you can actually use it is for the Dublin bus from the airport to the city centre.
Yeah, the Airport Express, I think it's called. Yeah.
Airlink. Something.
Airlink?
We'll put it in the Google sheet that you can check out later.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's €7 that way. So if you don't have too much luggage, it might actually already save you a bit of money instead of getting a cab. And as you go around Dublin, like checking out different places, maybe going for flat viewings, going for job interviews, it also makes it very easy to just top it up and move around the city like that. Or you could even go and put a week's worth of a ticket on it if you already, like me in the first week, found a job. And you have to go from the Lewis from one end to the other for all the zones. It's a lot cheaper to just get the week ticket and, for example, put it on the card.
So, once you come from the airport and you're on that bus or whatever mode of transportation you're using, obviously you've got to be headed to a place. Accommodation. So what we did is that we actually ended up in Airbnb that first week or two. Yes, while we were looking for flats. One thing you really need to know is that flats in Dublin, when you're renting, you usually have to pay a month's worth of rent as a deposit, as well as the first month in order to move in. Of course, if you would like more information on that process, we did a video on that, so link in the description for that. Yeah, don't worry. It's cool. It's awesome. It'll help a lot.
So once you're finally found your flat and all of that, it's time to get to the fun part, the finally settling into your new place. So in our case, we were staying in a shared house. That made it already a little easier because there were like pots, cutlery, everything to share. But there was still some stuff we needed for our own little place. So that meant an IKEA trip, and it was our first IKEA trip, so it was a day trip. We were just overwhelmed by how huge IKEA is.
Well, first IKEA trip in Dublin. Don't worry, we're civilized. We've been to an IKEA before.
I hadn't.
Oh, okay. Well, luckily I was able to drag her out of the abyss. Y'all IKEA goers know exactly what I'm talking about.
So yeah, after that IKEA trip, we didn't buy that much stuff. It was just small things like a rubbish bin for a room, maybe some storage stuff, some coat hangers, really basic stuff. Then we also did some other trips. We went to Tesco's to get some ingredients or some stuff like our own personal mugs for the kitchen and stuff. And really, it was just also getting the basics that you need for cooking because we weren't sharing those. So, especially for example, the spices for a
Yes,
Caribbean person.
spice your food, people. It is integral to good taste.
So yeah, just those little things to get the basics set up for your everyday life, and also maybe some things to make your flat a little bit cozier and feel more like home.
So, next up is the bare necessities. I promise you I don't have Jungle Book in my head right now. That's completely a lie. Moving on. Of course, you go into your usual living expenses, which is going to the supermarket and buying those other small things you need. For those first few weeks, I think our groceries averaged about 40 euros, 40 euros per week. Not bad for a start. And also, it was coming to autumn, so the next big thing was the clothes. If you're like me, you don't need to wear multiple layers at home, so we also had to do the shopping as well. Yes, interesting fact. Pennies is Primark. Primark is pennies. Like, don't laugh at us Irish people. I did not know they were the same star until I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, so that's a new thing we learned. You're always learning new things when you're traveling and seeing places. Other things we were doing is also like going to different supermarkets, etc. like that. Mostly Aldi and Lidl. Question for anyone out there. Do little stores seem to differ in quality based on the location? It's kind of weird. Like, it kind of feels like it does. Yeah, comment below and tell me if I'm crazy or not. Yeah, so we also went to some of the more expensive places, a bit like Tesco, for getting some of those things that you might not necessarily have found in Aldi or Lidl.
So depending on if you're millennial or Gen Z, I suppose, probably one of your bare necessities is also internet on your mobile phone, so you're able to have data. So for SIM cards, I think the easiest in the beginning is to get like just a simple top-up SIM card. So I just walk into a Tesco store and ask for one because they have them, and that way you can get your shopping done and get your SIM card in the same place, and it's good for the first few months, for example, before you want to decide on a contract or something. So unfortunately, we also have to give you a little bit of bad news, but I think it's important people know about it beforehand. So basically, the problem you can run into is that you don't get your salary as fast as you thought you might because you can get emergency tax. Emergency tax is basically if all the admin work isn't set up yet, if your PPS number, the sort of social security number you get in Ireland, if your bank account details isn't fully set up with your company, or they don't accept the that kind of information update because they're already past the date where they make changes to payroll for that month, you can get emergency taxed, and that is 40% of your salary. So instead of the 20% that you usually taxed around, you get 40% taxed, and the month after 50%, 60%, and it goes on like that. So if you are running into some sort of issues in getting the admin stuff, like the PPS number, bank account, and all of that set up and then updated with your company, that can really pull down your savings and put you in a bad spot for like paying rent on time and things like that.
Yeah, so just have enough money to cover this occurrence of the emergency tax.
Yeah, that's also the reason we wanted to not just look at the first month of cost that we had, but also the second month, because it was actually until the end of the second month that I got a full month's worth salary plus the stuff that was missing from the first one.
So, if you're lucky enough to have some money left after all the expenses, the emergency tax, and everything else, then you still have some money for entertainment. So, you're in a new place, you can go ahead and try and discover some new places, even cheap places like parks. Yeah, parks are generally free except for, you have to travel to get to them. So, luckily for y'all, we've got videos. Yeah, so you'll have a playlist of some of the cool places you can visit in Ireland. So, go check that out.
So yeah, those are basically the costs we had as a couple moving to Ireland. So in the big Google sheet I created, I was also thinking, what is it like for a single person? Can I just go and divide everything by two? So I did that at first, and then I looked at the expenses, and it wasn't really adding up based on the conversations I have with people at work, people who live in a flat of their own or in a single room in a shared house, and the costs were just not adding up. So I realized if I want to put realistic expenses for a single person, it's more like 3/4 of what it would cost a couple, simply also because rent is that expensive, even if you're going for a single room rather than a double room. So if you're planning to move to Ireland as a single person, please do make sure to check the second column in the Google Sheet as well. So if you have any more questions about it, let us know in the comments so we can get back to you, or maybe even do another video answering your questions. And make sure to subscribe, because we'll have a lot more videos like this and generally what it is like to be an expat in Ireland coming up. So see you soon!
Bis später. Feck, where do I start from? No.